Wilder Show podcast. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is that. There she is.
I am here.
WilderShow.com is the website. Podcast at WilderShow.com is the email address. Podcast at WilderShow.com. And the podcasts drop Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, share, whatever else I left out. Do all those things.
There might be some things that we don't even know that you should do that we don't even know.
I love it. I love it.
But if you know it's a good thing to do, just please do it on our behalf.
So optimistic. There might be some things. There might be some things that we don't know.
Yeah, no, gosh. You just put the period.
Who have you been spending time with?
Right there.
You know who you're talking to. Yeah, absolutely. There are things we don't know. Okay, so podcast, thanks for being here, really. And especially thanks for telling your friends. That's the way this grows, you know. We want it to grow. We want to, I wouldn't say infect, want to influence, right?
That influence is better.
I guess it depends on your perspective on what we do.
Well,
we want to be influential. We want to draw the circle bigger. We want to have a conversation, want to welcome more people. Mm-hmm. So, give you something to fight about the other few days of the week. We lay this stuff out, and you guys can fight among yourselves.
Oh, nobody's going to fight.
No, invite people to disagree. I think that's
not
fun.
like us.
Yeah,
they're not going to fight about everything that they talk about.
Right. That's right. I got you. Fire and ice. We got to talk about fire and ice. Fire, of course, on the left coast. Just crazy what's going on in California. We'll get to that in a second. Ice, though, that's our part of the world. How about that little dusting that we got? Mm-hmm. It's very pretty, isn't it?
It is pretty. I guess, it's the less you have to actually get outside and deal with it, the prettier it is.
And I think everybody, they canceled, seriously, I think 400 school districts canceled classes for the end of this week. We have a big football game coming up between the Texas Longhorns and the Ohio State Buckeyes. So there are people here from Ohio who are getting ready for the Cotton Bowl.
Right.
And they're walking around going, what is wrong with all you
nothing.
Texans? This is nothing.
Yeah.
It was a nothing. So, I understand. We're not used to it. We don't have the infrastructure for it. When we've been up as we will be again.
You will never hear the word infrastructure as often as when there is a light dusting of snow in Texas.
True. Yeah, we don't have the infra, but we're just up with our friend Bill up in New England, and they're like a guy down the street has a snow shover on the front of his pickup truck.
He's ready. Yeah.
I mean, like normal people just have that. I mean, the thing that goes down the street, what do they call that? Like a snow plow.
Like a plow. Yeah.
It's like a snow plow, like just on a guy's F-150. So, we're not like that. We don't have all that, again, infrastructure.
Right.
That is not, it's just not part of our world. And it's like we don't have a lot of heavy coats.
Well, okay. Can I say just a word about that?
Sure.
I'm going to put my mom hat on for just a second. For the last few days, we're hearing a lot of people complain about it's so cold. It's so cold. Mm-hmm. It's so cold. And it is cold for where we are, for Texas. But put on a coat and it's not quite as cold. Maybe a hat or a pair of gloves. Mm-hmm. So many times the people that you hear talking about how cold it is, they're outside in a sweater. Yeah. Put on a coat. Yeah. Just for a few minutes, you're going to feel so much better.
Yeah, my grandmother used to always say, you really need something around your neck.
Yeah.
And when in the chilly
cover your
chilly
head. That's what my grandmother used to say.
And so I'm a fan of the cap or something on your head. Mm-hmm. And I'm increasingly have in the last several years become a fan of the scarf. Not to look fashionable. I know people that do that, but just to keep your neck warm.
Sure.
And just to, bundle it around there a couple of times. And it's nice. It's nice to have that little thing, and if it makes you look good too, that's good. But it's mainly extra. I just picked whatever is available and wrap it around your neck. Anyway, stay warm. Enjoy this. It's going to be gone. I mean, it's going to all be gone, within 24, 40 hours. It'll all be gone. And away we go. But fire and ice. So that's the ice. And now the fire.
It's really very little to complain about, and comparatively.
Mm-hmm. And you see all the fires out there. We're talking about Palisades and all that's going on in the Los Angeles area, and really just pure devastation. Mm-hmm. I mean, 99 mile an hour winds. You have all the canyon winds that most parts of the world, when the sun goes down, the winds go down. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't work that way there. Around deserts, it's like if there's this air, it comes down. It's got to find a place to go. Where does it go? Well, it can't go down into the ground because it hits the dirt, so it has to go down the canyon. Everybody loves palm trees. Do you know what happens when a palm tree catches on fire?
Mm.
The frond, is it the frond?
The fronds.
The palm fronds.
Yeah.
When it explodes, those become bottle rockets.
Wow.
And I was watching some of the coverage, and some of this stuff, the embers, that can be bigger than your hands. I mean, they're not just little tiny flakes. They're like huge things that are floating around. They can travel 2 miles. They fall on a house. They fall on whatever underbrush, and boom, you got your next big wildfire. Anyway, it's devastating. Lots of stars, I think, have lost their houses. Not that it makes it more tragic. But it does get people's attention more.
That's what I was going to say. I think that is what is drawing our attention to it maybe more when you, when you have that extra little magnifying glass over it. You're right. Billy Crystal home they've lived in since 1979, burned to the ground. And then there are other people, if you see somebody who is famous, maybe they didn't lose their home, but they know somebody who did. So you see, right. I think we're seeing so many more personal stories. It's one thing when you read about 100 homes, devastated by fire, but when you see the actual, names and faces of the people that the homes belonged to, and childhood homes and everything that they owned. I think it can't help but make it even more personal, and it's just terrible.
I was watching the coverage, and it is sort of like the whole thing with whenever there's a tornado or a hurricane, they put the people out there, the anchors or the stars or whatever, and they're out there on strapping themselves to telephone poles in the event of a hurricane to keep them from blowing away. Uh-huh. And it's great video, I must say. But this was so tragic. This was sort of a different thing when you have the human suffering, the human loss. When you're just showing the ocean and you're waiting for the hurricane, it's not like you're showing somebody's life, boyhood home,
You're watching it
blow
happen,
up. You know what I mean?
Right,
when that's in the background, it does take on sort of a different sort of feel when you're watching it. But I was watching a lot of the coverage, and it's just tough. And this is an example of we talked before about this, about when there is something in the news, it's big. People on both sides, like the left and the right, will run to their corners and find reasons why it's somebody else's fault.
Yeah.
And wildfires are that is such a good example. And both sides do it. All the liberal side, what do you think that angle is?
Well, climate change.
It's climate change, man. If it weren't for climate change, there would be no more wildfires. This is all about climate change. And you have climate change. And the other side, what does the right say? They say this is liberal policies. You got liberal policies that are so, quote, eco-friendly that they don't want to clean out the underbrush. When you don't clean out the underbrush, that's just kindling. By the way, when you hear underbrush, think just equals kindling in your mind. It's just kindling. It's like a fire starter kit. But no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to mess up the ecosystem and whatnot. And so those are the two corners that people run to. Just a side note, my brother, who's an architect, I remember many years ago, had a project in California. I can't remember where, but it was in California. And they'd gone down the road, all the studies and all the things, spent a lot of money, to get ready for this thing that they were going to do. And the whole thing was given the kibosh because of the dung beetle. The dung
really?
beetle. The dung beetle. Now,
was it a
habitat?
Yeah. I'm guessing that?
Actually, I don't even think it was. I think what it was it's not where the dung beetle is, but it's a place that it could be. It was like a place, it was like, well, no, there are no bunnies here, but bunnies might live here someday. The conditions are right. But all that was about the dung beetle. And I'm just bringing that up because there are some pretty wild policies that are, not business friendly, not even people friendly.
Uh-huh.
And when you look at the impact of what's happened, if those policies have played any role, if, for example, the water, we can't do this. We have to do water for this, but we can't do water for that.
Right.
Some of these hydrants actually ran out. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they ran out. Mm-mm. I mean, they turn it on, nothing. I mean, nothing. It's like, well, we'll go to the next neighborhood, I guess. That really did happen. They got the pressure back later, but it was. I mean, they lost hundreds of houses were burned up because that water. Where does California use its water? Where do they divert the water? What are their policies about water? All these kinds of things matter, and not to suggest that everything is, conservative, liberal, but those policies actually do make a big difference because not just in property, people's lives.
Sure.
People have died, and beyond that, and beyond human suffering and human loss and property loss, you have insurance companies that will be on the hook for all of this. And, when something is so huge and they say this is the grandest it's ever been, we've never had anything more devastating. Who do you think's going to pay for all that? And when companies can't get it all done, there's a big push to bail out companies, and that becomes on the hook of all of us, whether we have a policy with that company or not. So when you think that the policies about water or whatever don't matter, they might really matter in ways, none of us could really even imagine. Anyway, I was watching the coverage and I thought it was tragic to see. And I thought the coverage was pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. So knowing all of that and knowing how important all of those things are, does it put a little bit less of a spotlight on David Muir and his oh, you
should tell that story though.
Thing?
David Muir is in trouble with some people. I mean, it made it on big news story.
Yeah, I think it's kind of silly.
Okay, well let's talk about what it is. David Muir was caught. I say was caught.
I think that's part of it.
Well, let me go ahead.
You go ahead and you're the one who you actually told me about it, and then I did a little more. There's not a whole lot to know, but go ahead. I have thoughts though. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll get to those shortly. David Muir, who is the anchor for ABC, World News Tonight, or whatever they call it now, and David Muir had his little ABC fire suit. It was an ABC branded fire suit.
A fire jacket,
fire
right?
jacket.
Yeah.
So wearing a big fire jacket out to do the anchor coverage on the street where people's homes are burning up. And he had clothespinned it to make it look tighter around his chest.
Well, he turned to, while he was on camera, to gesture towards something that was happening behind him. And when he did that, you could see that clothespin or that thing that they used, like a little clamp, that they used to make his jacket fit him a little bit better. Which I think, and so what the story became, what a narcissist, trying to, make sure everybody sees how great he looks and how thin he is, and accentuates his shoulders when his torso is thin. I thought, first of all, you're spending a whole lot of time on something that is minute compared to what it is we're actually talking about, the story that he's covering. And also, they do that all the time. I I can't imagine when they say, he's caught making his jacket look smaller. So they show him, reaching around to do it, or did some wardrobe person do that?
Yeah, that's a good
and do
point.
they do that every single
that's a good point.
day that he's on the air? That's kind of his job, and to look a certain way, whether we like it or not. And it's the job of the wardrobe people to make sure that he looks like that. I just thought it was kind of silly.
Let me take a counterpoint just for a second, because I would say if there's ever a time not to worry about that stuff, where there's really important stuff going on, it's when people's homes are burning to the ground. Did you watch any of the coverage?
I didn't see any of that. I didn't see any of that particular coverage. I've seen coverage, but I didn't see David Muir.
Well, I watched a lot of the coverage, and I watched a lot of CNN coverage. And I thought Anderson Cooper and all those guys, I think they did to get a great job. And there wasn't, I guess if I had noticed, I don't know, if I had seen anything that made me believe that there was any concern more than the topic that had so much importance, that might have actually gotten my attention. I didn't watch ABC News. If I had, honestly, I'm sure I would have seen that.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I would have said, oh, what are they doing there? But I do think, well, gosh, really? That's the deal? I would have compared that coverage to other coverage. If you have enough time to worry about that, it must not be that big of a story, or you're not into it. You can't possibly divide. I understand being concerned about that stuff if it's not...
Well, if who has enough time to worry about it? Somebody who's there, whose job it is to make sure that gets done?
I'm assuming
they might still have time.
Yeah, I guess I'm just assuming on the street where houses are crumbling and cars are blowing up, there aren't young girls with clothespins to make him look more buff.
You could
just
be
tell the story.
100% right. I don't even really want to watch this coverage with my eye on who has a really well fitted jacket and who doesn't, and it just kind of shined a light on that I don't even really want there. I feel like it's kind of petty.
Let's talk about Jimmy Carter. We watched the state funeral. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Well, can you say about a funeral is great? I thought Andrew Young was good. I mean, look, I disagree with those guys on 1,000 things politically, but I thought some of the things were really good. I was surprised that Michelle Obama wasn't there. As I looked at all the people, because I was like, oh yeah, they're all going to be there.
Do we know why? I mean, there might be a really good reason. I don't know.
Yeah, see if you can figure that out. I didn't even think about that when I was watching the coverage. I knew Joe Biden was going to give the thing, and I honestly, frankly, I wanted to see what that was like, the eulogy. It was okay. And of course, when he sits down, they show all of them. And there's W with Mrs. W. And there is Bill Clinton with Hillary. And then there was Donald Trump with Melania. And there was Barack Obama.
Yep.
Without the other.
I have a little more information.
Tell me
I don't
what
know
the
if
deal
this
is.
is accurate.
Yeah,
it's going to sound terrible.
Oh, no.
She's still on vacation. Extended vacation in Hawaii is what I'm seeing. But her spokesperson, Crystal Carson, in a statement said Mrs. Obama sends her thoughts and prayers to the Carter family and everyone who loved and learned from the remarkable former president.
I thought we were supposed to eschew all the thoughts and prayers. I thought all the thoughts and prayers we always send after school shootings and things like that, people say, well, don't do that. You're supposed to do something that matters. Thoughts and prayers, thoughts and prayers.
That's a different topic.
Oh, got it.
Different
person doing it, right?
Maybe so.
Okay, gotcha. It always seems weird. I don't remember if those rules apply to everybody the same. If that's true, and I don't know, but if that's true, that is really bad. That is very embarrassing. I couldn't go to the funeral, which we've known about for a week, because I was still in Hawaii.
And there are also other reports that just say there was no reason given. She just was not able to make it. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure
not able
it will
to make
all
it.
Come out. Yeah.
You have all the money in the world. You have all the ability of transportation in the world. You have Secret Service protection. Your husband is there, wasn't able to make it. You know what? I'm telling you, I'm just saying that is not a good reason to say she's still on vacation.
Mm-hmm. We'll see.
I guess it wasn't a vacation where Barack Obama was on.
Or maybe he was just back already.
Or maybe he just knows it's the thing to do.
For it, yeah.
I also thought it was really good. I watched the exchange between Barack Obama And Donald Trump, did you see that?
I saw him, you know,
It was great.
like leaning over and visiting.
But it was actually, part of it was where Donald Trump is saying something to Barack Obama and smiling. Barack Obama laughs and it looks genuine. I usually tell when people are just painting it on, you know, but it would look really genuine. And part of it also was him saying something back to Donald Trump and him laughing about it. They comment, Andrew Young says his thing and Donald Trump leans over and says, that was really good. And they talk for a second about that.
Yeah.
In some ways, it feels like, you know, boxers in the ring, you know, they beat the yogurt out of each other.
Right.
And then when it's over, they're hugging and kissing and
hug
you go out for a drink afterwards and just they're buds again. You know, I'm not saying they're friends. I think there's probably certainly from one side, there is great disdain for one. But I just thought I like when there could be some civility. And I didn't sense that it was fake.
No, I understand.
And I saw George W. Bush yucking it up with Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of interesting.
We kind of live in the vitriol between the two parties, you know, and even more so, you know, it's a great example, boxers in a boxing ring, but that's just for that moment. This is all the time.
That's true.
So to see them sit next to each other and have what appeared to be sort of a lighthearted moment is it's a little bit of a head snap.
I thought it was great. Before a scatter shoot, one more thing, may I?
Yeah.
It's a norovirus, right?
Yes.
I want to give a little PSA for norovirus. This is a stomach bug, right? It's a stomach flu. It's the kind of thing that you get on cruise ships all the time.
Yeah.
They don't charge you extra; you just get it. It is
so nice.
It is the cruise ship thing, and it's a big deal, though.
It is.
It's a big deal for young people. I mean, what do you say? It's babies and youngins, and it's a big deal for the older too.
Right.
And I want to pass on two things that I know that I heard recently about the norovirus. You probably already know this. How do you make sure you don't get it? There are two things that are really important.
Well, hand sanitizer doesn't help.
That's one thing.
Right.
Hand sanitizer doesn't work.
So
Let me explain why.
Keeping your hands clean, obviously, that's a good thing. But if you're doing it just with hand sanitizer, that's not going to.
It won't do it. The hand sanitizer will not kill it.
Okay.
It takes soap and water. So actually, the olden way of doing it, washing your hands with warm water and soap.
Right.
Or warm soap and water. To wash your hands. Wash your hands. Wash your little kids' hands. Because it turns out that there's some viruses that have different outsides, like the skin of the virus. This is not really the way viruses are, but like the normal virus, the normal flu virus, for example.
Yeah.
It is a soft shell.
Okay.
And so that gel or whatever it is that's in the whatever it is on your hand sanitizer, it can kill it.
Okay.
But the norovirus is it's candy coated. So it has
a harder shell.
Yes, it's a harder shell. It's like a Boston Beans.
You make it sound so nice.
It's candy coated peanuts.
Yeah.
It's like that.
Okay.
And so you can't, it doesn't penetrate. That's number one.
Right.
So you can't use just hand sanitizer. Number two, you can't use Lysol.
Lysol won't kill it either?
Lysol will not kill it. I know Lysol says, and so do the hand sanitizers say, 99.9. This is the 0.1, and I'm not kidding. This is the 0.1. So your Lysol will not kill the norovirus.
So what's left? So what do you...
Two things.
Okay.
Hydrogen peroxide.
Okay.
Or bleach.
Gotcha.
Those are the only two things. So if you're going to, for example, your restroom, your bathroom at the house.
Yeah.
If you want to go over that stuff, hydrogen peroxide or bleach. But Lysol will make it smell. It'll make it smell like it's doing great.
Like you cleaned. Yeah.
But no. And same thing with the hand sanitizer. It'll make your hands smell, but it won't keep that norovirus. So that's my little PSA on the norovirus. Wash your hands, kids.
Wash your hands. Do you remember that thing that we talked about several years ago? I think you and I talked about this. It was something that I'd heard. It was during. It was at the beginning of the pandemic when we were hearing about washing your hands and the importance of washing your hands for 20 seconds, and there were all these things that we employed to make that more of a habitual thing and to teach kids how to do that. And it was the story that I heard about, what changed the trajectory, one thing that changed the trajectory of how we combat disease, thus saving more lives than any one single discovery.
Wow.
What was it?
Oh.
Soap.
Really?
Can you believe that?
Soap.
Yeah, and it was a crazy story, but and much more detailed than that. But this just sort of brought that to mind for me. Keep your hands clean. Wash your hands, soap and water.
Never a bad thing to wash. I like the way my hands feel when they're clean. Even when everybody was doing the hand sanitizer.
Yeah.
I don't like the way my hands feel.
Soap and water is different.
Soap and water is just, it feels clean. It kind of dry. Mm-hmm. All right. There you go. And Scattershoot is coming up. But first, a reminder, you can find us at wildershow.com. That's the website, wildershow.com. Email is podcast@wildershow.com. Podcast drop Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. on Spotify, 6 a.m. Central Time. On Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And Scattershoot is coming up. Scattershoot, one of my favorite moments. It's actually more than a moment. You may have noticed that.
Maybe a couple of moments.
It goes sometimes.
Handful of moments?
Yeah, handful of moments. Wilder Show, Scattershoot, and again, one of my favorite times.
What is fair game in a memoir? Do you read a lot of memoirs?
I read a lot of manifestos.
No, that's not the same thing.
But I don't read. I don't read a lot of memoirs.
A totally different question.
Can I say this?
Yeah.
You can stop early. I don't read a lot of memoirs. I don't read.
It's another one of those sentences where you could stop.
The truth is, when I watch movies, I get so frustrated now when they make me read the text messages.
No, you mean the closed caption?
No. I mean,
the text messages. I don't like
honestly,
that either.
And it's like, dude, if I wanted to read, I'd pick up a book. I'm here to watch and listen. Okay. I don't want to read.
Okay.
So, but memoirs.
So the answer for you is no. You don't read a lot of memoirs.
Well, for me at this moment is no.
I do wonder. I do read a lot of memoirs, and I think about this sometimes. I've not read this memoir in particular, but what is fair game? Like, how many? You're in a memoir. You're telling your own story. Obviously, there are people that you're going to tell some other stories that have other people involved because, if you are a human who gets to to a point in your life where you've got enough stories to tell a memoir, you probably interacted with a few other people. So, but I do wonder what is fair game. And Allison, you know who Allison Holker is?
No.
So Allison Holker was married to Stephen Boss. Do you know who that is?
No.
I bet you would if you saw their picture.
Okay.
So Stephen Boss was actually Stephen Twitch Boss. He's a dancer. They were both dancers. He was a big part of Ellen DeGeneres' talk show for a while. He was the DJ. He was off to the side of the stage, played the music, did some announcing.
Yeah.
They were both public figures.
Okay.
They were known on their own.
You say
and they
were.
Are
they dead?
Well, no. Well, Stephen Boss is. Stephen Boss took his own life in December of 2022.
That's sad.
So it's been a little while. Left his wife, Allison Holker, and their 3 kids. Terrible, terrible tragedy. But she has now written a memoir called This Far, and it details a whole. I mean, she found journals of his after he died.
Okay, I think I know where we're going here. Go ahead.
She also found some drugs and drug paraphernalia.
Okay.
She says she did. I guess a lot of this is not even. Some of his family members are saying that's not even true necessarily. She refers to, she talks about addictions in the memoir. She tells a lot. She talks about childhood trauma she discovered childhood trauma that he wrote about in his journals that he had not shared with her, that she is now sort of sharing with the world.
Well, maybe there's a reason why he didn't share them with her.
Yeah.
You ever think about that?
So she did. This is all in the memoir, and then it all came to light in People magazine, who she also talked to about all of this earlier just this week. And his friends and his family are really quite upset about this, and it made me wonder if this, the book is called This Far. Did she go maybe too far?
I think that is too far. I don't think that's. But see, this is what maybe I'll get into that. I think that's just wrong. It's just this, and honestly, this is part of what. It's not that I have anything against journaling. People who journal and they swear by it and how great it is, they look back and they see the great trajectory of their life, and they were going through this, and then they prayed this and whatever, and then this happened or whatever. My mom doesn't really journal,
right?
But she does sort of journal through calendars.
Oh, yeah.
So she has, she can go back. There is a calendar of 1967 when I was baptized.
Wow.
I'm sure there is. It's on.
That.
Yeah. So that has become sort of the way she does it. Her story is told on her calendar. The things that she's doing, she marks down when she's gone to the hospital or whatever that she's been recuperating, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But and I know people swear by journaling, but when I've thought about this for me, just talking about for me, and this story really sort of brings this home. Do you journal such that you tell the complete truth that nobody ever is going to see?
Yeah. It's
only for you? Or are you journaling with some kind of new fashioned version of reality? Almost, not really like Instagram, but are you gramming up your journal where, well, what if the kids read this?
Is that what you mean? Like who's going to find it when I'm not around anymore?
That's what I'm saying.
What's the story I want to tell?
That's what I'm saying.
Versus what maybe the story really is?
And then I would say, what is the point?
Yeah.
So you either write it in a way that could destroy the people that you love, should they ever find it, if you're going to be truthful. Or you write a lie that will make people feel better, but what good is that other than sort of a fictionalized, Disney-fied version of yourself? Now, you do whatever you want to do with your free time. You want to write that stuff, great stuff about yourself that puts the best possible spin on it. That's great. I just wonder for myself, what is the point of that? I think a lot of people said is it the cathartic nature?
Sure.
The cathartic nature, the thing that is so good to you personally about journaling, it seems to me should be tied to whether what you're writing is true.
Yeah, I get that.
You don't look back 7 months from now or 7 months ago and you read it and go, I know I wrote this, but now I remember what I really was feeling at the time, and it wasn't that. I wrote it this way in case so-and-so ever finds it.
Right.
So I'm generally nervous about journals. If you find somebody's journal, probably don't read it.
Probably don't read it, and I would think
care whose
maybe
it is.
Don't write about it after you've read it too.
Absolutely.
Now, Allison Holker says that the reason that she did this is that she wishes he had felt comfortable to talk through these things with people who were close to him, or maybe in therapy, that he could have found help. And she wants to encourage anyone who is going through something like this, that is hiding these things that, sometimes when they see, when you shed some light on those things, you can find some healing. And so that's what she says her reason is for publishing these things. But,
and coincidentally, it gets a lot of attention and exposure for the book that's going to make her money.
Yeah.
If it's really so altruistic, check with the kids, check with the relatives, check with his family to find out how much they're championing this thing that you're doing altruistically for other people so that they might feel more comfortable. I call baloney on that part, but that's not really. That's not for mine to really do. But you asked, what is fair game? I think she crossed the line. I don't think it's her business, and she shouldn't have done it. It's shameful, and the guy has no ability to respond.
Right.
He can't respond. And do you think they're going to listen to his brother or his brother-in-law? Is the brother-in-law going to get the same attention from People magazine as the girl that wrote the book?
I don't know.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. On a much lighter note, you know what time it is? What season it is?
It's about What time?
It's Girl Scout cookie season.
Hey, Girl Scout cookies.
It is Girl Scout cookie season, which is a lot
like it.
longer than I remember Girl Scout cookie season being in the past. It started a little earlier this week on January 7th. It's going to go through April.
I thought it was only in the month of February.
It used to be just the month of February, but now with online ordering and things like that, they've been able to stretch it out. And to celebrate, I brought out my two of my little prized possessions, my Greater Minneapolis Girl Scout 1975 and 1976 super seller badges.
You were a super seller.
I was a super seller. I was a super seller 2 years in a row. I must say, though, to my dear dad, I got those back in the days when it was not frowned upon to take your kids' Girl Scout cookie.
Order sheet.
Did it on paper with pens back then. Yep. Kids, he would take it to work, which was very helpful. But
if you really like your job, you got to buy more Thin Mints.
Buy more.
You really don't want Samoas? Do you really not want to? Did you want off
kid.
Next weekend? Do you also want Samoas?
Thin Mints do you want? Yeah. And just so you know, this year it's the last hurrah for s'mores and Toastiers.
I don't know that other one. The ones that I always the go to for me are the Thin Mints. Yeah. I'm a big Thin Mint guy.
The Thin Mints are staying around.
Well, and you can because I like it because you can really and you freeze any of them.
You can.
But I do like the frozen sleeve of Thin Mints, and I've said this before. They on the I always want to check the calories on things, and they really put that. They don't put that on the side right.
No.
They put it. I think it's per 2 cookies.
Cookies.
It's 80 calories per 2 Thin Mints, and I always thought that doesn't make sense. That makes me go through math. Tell me how many calories per sleeve,
because that's what I'm going to eat.
I'm grabbing a sleeve, and I got a game coming on, and I'm gonna eat the whole thing. And then I also like my mom likes the butter cookie type. They're kind of plain butter cookies, something like that. I can't remember is it trefoil? No.
Trefoils?
Trefoils, yeah.
Trefoils, yeah.
They're kind of butter cookie-ish.
Yeah. Those are really good.
They're really good. And I like some other ones. But those tagalongs are good.
Did you ever have raspberry rallies?
No.
No, raspberry rallies.
No.
Raspberry rallies.
What are those?
They were only around for 1 year. I'm really
Is that because they weren't popular?
Missed those. I don't know. I don't know. Weird. Only 1 year though. And then one more thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if have you heard people, this might be something for the younger crowd. Have you heard, although I've heard it, and I'm not in the younger crowd, have you heard people referring to groups like fan groups as a hive?
As a hive?
As a hive.
No.
Like if you're a big fan of
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. You're in the
Brady
Tom
hive.
Brady hive.
It'd be like team so and so or team so and so.
Something like that.
Okay, no, I haven't heard that. Hive.
Okay, well, I'm confused by it a little bit because I hear it a lot. And the first time I ever heard it, it was when people were talking about Beyonce fans. And are you in the Beehive? Beyonce fans are in the Beehive. That made sense because people they refer to her as, Bee or Queen Bee in the Beehive. I got that. But now it's like everywhere, and I don't understand. Like, why, if you're a fan, if you're, a dad who is a fan of the movie Paddington for his kids, how are you in the Paddington dad hive? That just doesn't make as much sense. Or if you're a fan of David Fincher movies, you're now in the David Fincher hive. It doesn't have the same ring to me, and I'm wondering if I'm missing something there.
All right. Well, I don't know because I don't know the hive talk.
Yeah.
But so we could just email if you wanted to email Lauren about that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If you could send an email to podcast@wildershow.com, or if you go to wildershow.com, you could leave us a little voice message.
Oh, Hive Talk.
Right. Hive Talk. Hive Talk. I like that.
Hive Talk. Well, let me compare it to something though.
Okay.
1970, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. There was a piece of tape on a door that kept the door unlocked, and it took place at the Watergate.
Right.
And that became the beginning of the whole Watergate scandal.
That's right.
Gate.
Ooh, it's kind of like that.
Gate. There is Monica Gate. There is Plame Gate. There was all these different gates. But it doesn't make sense. Right. But it all goes back to Watergate. It is tied to Watergate.
Then never mind about all that stuff.
No. But Hive. But I've never heard that. Gate Talk or Hive Talk. you can email us podcast@wildershow.com.
Maybe you could be in the Wilder Show hive then.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah. I would never be so presumptuous as to believe we should have a hive. But we're happy to have you here. WilderShow.com is the website. WilderShow.com. Yes, you can leave us a voicemail there. And soon we will be incorporating those with your questions, your comments, your show topics, all right there. It's easy to do at WilderShow.com. WilderShow.com. Email, as we mentioned, is podcast@WilderShow.com. Podcast drop Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 a.m. Central Time, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. Like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And we will see you next time.
Da-dum, dum, dum.